Hi guys, and welcome to a card review for the Sultai partner commanders Ukkima Stalking Shadow and I can't pronounce that guy's name, Ruthless Stalker Monogreen something. Now, there is a card right behind me here. It's a mono-green enchantment that goes by the name of Food Chain. Exile a creature you control, add X mana of any color, where X is +1, the exile creature's converted mana cost. Spend that mana only to cast creature's spells. And the only reason why these guys are actually cEDH viable is because of the existence of Food Chain. For those of you who doesn't know how Food Chain actually functions, here I have Eternal Scourge and Misthallow Griffin. Both of these creatures can be casted from exile, which is actually kinda broken. You see, you can cast Eternal Scourge, then exile it to Food Chain. You will generate 4 mana of any color you want. You can only use this mana to cast creature spells, so you spend 3 of those mana to cast Eternal Scourge from exile, and then you repeat, and now you have infinite mana in any color you want, but you can only use that mana to cast creature spells. I would like to mention that there is a third creature that can be cast from exile, and that's Squeedy Immortal. It's a legendary mono-red creature. Now we can't actually include this in this Sultai deck because we don't have access to the color of red. And in case, we have 2 Food Chain creatures and that's good enough. Now, Ukkima Stalking Shadow has the following text. It's unblockable and that's cute. It's a 2/2 for 3 mana, blue and black and 1 generic. Then, when Ukkima leaves the battlefield, it deals X damage to target player and you gain X life, where X is its power. Let's explain a few rules here and how we are going to exploit Food Chain in the commander format. You see, whenever a commander leaves the battlefield in some form of way, dying, going to exile, returning to your hand, or goes into the library, there might be some more zones, I don't know exactly, you have a replacement effect of going to the command zone. So if your commander dies, there's a replacement effect and it doesn't die. So commanders actually don't generate die triggers. Because of this, Wizard of the Coast want to have die effects on a few commanders so that when they are going back to the command zone, they will have a trigger. Because of that, they are writing effects such as leaves the battlefield. There are other creatures in this game that have leave the battlefield effect. By returning them to your hand or going to exile, they still trigger, just like Ukkima Stalking Shadow will always trigger no matter what it happens, as long as it's moving from the battlefield to anywhere, and the command zone will do that job. That means that when you have infinite mana in only creatures, you can infinitely cast Ukkima Stalking Shadow and infinitely eat it to Food Chain. And because of commander attacks, remember we have infinite mana, we can always pay the commander attacks. We can cast Ukkima Stalking Shadow infinitely, killing all of our opponents. So, how good are these 2 partner Sultai commanders going to perform this deck? First up, you are playing 3 colors, that's great. Also, you have the 3 best colors in the format. You're lacking red and white, but you're getting black, blue and green, the best colors you could ask for. So already you're on a really good start here. However, looking at these 2 cards, we can clearly see that they don't have any form of ability we normally want our commanders to have. They don't draw cards or produce grindy value in any form of way, and they don't interact with anything. They don't have an activated ability that is countering abilities or dealing damage to creatures. They don't destroy enchantments or artifact. They are simply doing one thing only. They are Voltron, unblockable, growing in power. So whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on that creature. So you have a backup beatdown plan. I guess that's a bonus, but that's not something we're looking for. We want card draw and we want interaction on a commander. That's good on a commander. Let's compare the Sultai partner commanders with the first Sliver and Corvold Fakehurst King, 2 other commanders that are going for Food Chain game plan strategies. So the first Sliver got all 5 colors in this. That's a huge upside. You get red and white as well. And we did look at Squee. Squee is good for Food Chain. And you also have Enlightened Tutor that will tutor for the Food Chain. So that is definitely an upside. And when you cast the first Sliver, you get a Cascade Effect. And even though cascading in cEDH is really weak, I've seen players cast the first sliver and cascade into a land or elf, a brainstorm, or a counterspell, and that's like, okay, that was something, I guess, at the very least, something. And it's a 7/7, so then they're starting to like go face with the first sliver. But in general, the first sliver is a very weak, grindy card. I've actually done again seen a friend of mine cast the first sliver and cascade into food chain. So there is that as well. Give and take, it's a little bit better compared to the Voltron unblockable food chain guys, in my opinion, but it's not really pushing it the edge over. However, when we look at Corvold Fake Cursed King, this dragon draws a tremendously high amount of cards. Whenever you sacrifice anything, Corvold is going to draw a card and gain a +1/+1 counter. So here we have a card draw on a commander, and that is great. Sure, the commander actually costs 5 mana, but at the very least, if nothing better is happening, this is a great card draw outlet. Trust me, this thing draws a lot of cards when it gets going. And it got a Voltron effect on it as well, growing in +1/+1 counters, so you could kill people with beatdown. Like, it's a bonus. Also, the dragon got flying, so that's some form of evasion getting through all of those pesky land or elves that your opponent just put in play, preventing them from dying. Now, Ukkima got unblockable, so that's a better evasion, but still there are very few creatures in this game with flying in the cEDH format, so I've seen people actually die to the dragon. So in the end, I don't think that these Sultai partners Stalkers are going to perform the best Sultai deck we have in this format. I definitely think that the first Sliver and Corvold will do a little bit better of a job. Now, you could make an argument that Corvold is on the color identity of red instead of blue, and blue is stronger than red. I will definitely agree with that. However, Corvold is drawing cards, so I definitely think that that is giving Corvold a little bit of a better edge. In the end though, we shouldn't evaluate cards and commanders in the aspect that there are better commanders out there. There sure is, and these guys will probably perform on a little bit lower power level, but I think it's unfair because these guys are actually able to put together a rock solid functional game plan. These guys are definitely going to be cEDH viable. We have access to black, and that means we can still play the Tainted Pact. So how this functions is that you cast Tainted Pact and you dig until you find food chain. And if you're lucky and on your digging way you actually exile Misthallow Griffin, you've found 2 of the combo pieces by using 1 card Tainted Pact. Tainted Pact could definitely assemble food chain as a 1 card combo assembler. We also got the color identity of blue. That means we can include the auto includes Foresight and Manipulate Fate, 2 of the best cards when you're going for the food chain combo. Search your library for 3 cards, remove them from the game, then shuffle your library and draw a card. So this is a tutor to find all of your exile food chain creatures and just put them in exile, and then you draw a card. So it's like casting a demonic tutor and removing 3 cards you don't want in your deck out of the game, and you get access to them, and then you draw a card. That's really good. Also, we have Thassa's Oracle, and we still have Demonic Consultation and Tainted Pact because of color identity of black. So we have a backup secondary 2-card combo in the deck as well. Food Chain has actually been around for quite some time as a combo, a tier 1 combo in cEDH, so we have a great knowledge of how that deck and combo should be operating and being played. So I guess people are going to build this are pretty much going to build a similar copy to how the previous Food Chain decks looks like, and I think it's going to be a very similar deck in general. And there's actually nothing wrong with that. It might actually be even a little bit of an advantage. You see, people have been playing Food Chain Tasri and Food Chain Sliver and Food Chain Prosh and some other Food Chain commanders for a long while, having the same staple cards, just swapping out commanders. But these guys are offering something of a different game plan, and you see, sometimes you get tired of playing the same thing. This format is really expensive, and if you want to try something different and you've been playing Food Chain all the time, you might have to purchase and get a few new cards, because Food Chain staples don't really follow to the other decks. There are a few. You Tainted Pact, Demonic Consultation and Thassa's Oracle, they follow to other decks, but there's a limit. But here comes a couple of commanders that will completely change so much by only replacing the commanders. And you get a completely new kind of feeling. I actually think people are going to play these guys just because they want to try out something new. For example, and I actually think this is gonna be pretty epic to see if it happens. So here I have Lanor Elf and Deathright Shaman, and I still got the guy that I can't pronounce, the Ruthless Stalker. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on that creature. So let's say nothing is going according to plan. Your Fujin is in exile and you're just drawing, you're in top decking mode and nothing happens. But you have a bunch of Lanor Elves and Mana Dorks, and there's an opponent over there who doesn't have any blockers. And you have your green commander in play and you start attacking that guy, and eventually you're building an army. That is a cool feeling. You've never experienced that playing the first sliver, you've never experienced that playing the General Tastri, so this is new. So I definitely think that these guys are going to show up in a few cEDH games. Also, you could probably view them as an entry deck into the first sliver food chain. First sliver food chain is probably a little bit more expensive because you have more color identities, so it's a big step in your budget, and this is a good way to experiment and playtest and see on a budget if food chain combos is something for you. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like what I do and you wanna support me, feel free to share my videos or even checking out my Patreon page. Also, purchasing cards from the TCG Players website using the affiliate link in the description below of the video will also help the channel grow. So a big thank you to all of you.